We planted these trees in 1937. I was 26 years old. Went to the service at 41. My mother had to run the cultivator to keep the weeds down at that time. There's a picture of my mother on the end of this row of trees right here. That's history.
Windbreaks have been used for many years. The simple act of reducing wind speed can slow soil erosion, improve crop yields, increase livestock gain in winter, keep snowdrifts out of feedlots, increase calf survival, and improve wildlife habitat. This video discusses the benefits of field and livestock windbreaks, highlights the 5 major design components crucial to creating an effective windbreak, establishes general criteria for selecting trees and shrubs that are suitable for windbreaks, and briefly examines the management of windbreaks. Windbreaks help prevent windblown soil erosion by creating an area of protection when there is not enough cover crop or crop residue to protect the field.
That's over there, then.
Willard and Cecilia Grevson have been producing corn near Madison, Nebraska for a number of years. They use cottonwood, cedar, and pine windbreaks to improve their crop yields.
We really believe in the benefit of trees. We have, as you can see where we are, we have soils, like sandy soils, and they're very light. And we have a lot of wind in Nebraska. This is called the plains. So in the plains, we need to have a protection, and the trees are a perfect thing.
In the protected zones, windbreaks create a microclimate that will improve yields in corn, soybeans, wheat, and many other grain crops. Tender seedlings and other sensitive crops, such as vegetables, are protected from damage by blowing soil. Wesley Huenfeld was the first tree farmer in Nebraska.
A lot of the farmers around here lost their land, and we managed to save it. Our father planted trees to try to keep that land from washing away.
Paul Huenfeld, Wesley's nephew, is an organic farmer working the same land. Paul uses windbreaks to protect his crops.
Organic farming and trees were just a natural fit, like a hand in a glove, as far as I was concerned. We needed buffers around the farm. We also really value the importance of habitat for the insects and the predators. And we see that along the trees where we can plant grass and legumes, a excellent source of habitat for different species of wildlife.
Windbreaks help protect animals from hot summer or cold winter winds. This contributes to healthier animals that consume less feed per unit of gain. Alan Wolf has been raising cattle in northeast Nebraska for a number of years.
It takes a lot less feed if they got protection when it's cold. It takes less feed and the cows do better. A cow, she can take care of herself as long as she can get out of the wind. We don't rent any stocks unless they have protection on this time of year. In case we would have a blizzard or something that comes through, we want to know that they have some kind of protection. Some days, we've got blizzards around here that are bad enough that with cattle that actually die if they can't get out of the wind.
Windbreaks are also used to increase calf survival. Bud Twist, land and resource manager for the Santee Sioux tribe, planted trees to create a living barn.
The object of this living barn is to make a calving pasture in this area. We calve our cows in 3 different areas now, and what we want to do is calve them all in one area, and it makes it a lot easier for us to feed in the spring of the year as to 3 different areas. Economy-wise, it saves us on fuel and tractor use.
Besides protecting soil, crops, and livestock, managing snow and increasing calf survival, windbreaks provide habitat for birds and animals. By planting a variety of tree and shrub species, you can create a smorgasbord of seeds, nuts, and fruits. Trees also provide a travel corridor for wildlife. Bruce White is the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service lead agroforester at the USDA National Agroforestry Center in Lincoln, Nebraska. He has worked with windbreak applications for the past 28 years.
The primary effect of a windbreak is a reduction of wind speed. In order to control wind speed, you need to understand the 5 components of a windbreak. They are height of the tallest tree row, density, or the amount of leaves, branches, and trunks in the windbreak, orientation, the direction of the windbreak faces, continuity, whether there are any gaps in the windbreak, and the total length of the windbreak. By manipulating windbreak components, a design can be developed to meet your objectives. Let's begin by talking about windbreak height, which is referred to as H. This is the most important factor in determining the downwind area of protection. The height of the tallest trees in the windbreak determines how far downwind the protection zone will reach. The greatest wind speed reduction occurs in the area from 2 times to 10 times the height of the windbreak on the leeward or downwind side. For example, in a windbreak where the tallest trees are 20 feet, the greatest wind speed reduction will occur from 40 feet to 200 feet leeward of the windbreak. Measurable reductions can also occur as far as 30 times the height. Another important design factor is windbreak density. Wind blows over and around a windbreak, but a portion also flows through the windbreak. The more solid or dense a windbreak, the greater the wind speed reduction. The density can be managed by the choice of species, such as conifer versus deciduous, the spacing of the trees, and the number of rows in the windbreak. For example, when protecting a livestock feeding area, the windbreak needs to be as dense as possible, using multiple tree rows, including evergreens, because there's a need for maximum wind speed reduction, and the area needing protection is usually small. However, a windbreak protecting a large field from crop or soil damage does not need to be as dense. With less density, more wind passes through the windbreak. Contrary, though, to what you might expect, the area protected is slightly larger. A 1 to 2 row deciduous windbreak can usually provide sufficient crop and soil protection. Windbreaks need to be oriented as close to perpendicular to the troublesome wind direction as possible. For example, if you need winter livestock protection from north winds, the windbreak needs to be perpendicular to the northerly winds and on the north side of the livestock area. However, for protection of crops from summer winds, the windbreak needs to be perpendicular to the southerly and southwestern wind flows and south of the field. To allow for changes in wind direction, windbreaks are often planted in multiple directions, such as an L, U, or an E shape. When locating the windbreak, do not plant across feedlots, near manure piles, or across barnyard drainage ways, as trees, particularly evergreens, may grow poorly or not survive at all. The windbreak should not create visibility hazards at road intersections or interfere with utilities. Windbreaks need to be continuous throughout their length with no large gaps. Gaps will create a funnel effect that concentrates wind flow where wind speeds are often higher than in the open field. This creates problems downwind from the gap. Replacing trees that die and locating access lanes around the ends of the windbreak can prevent gaps. If a field road, driveway, or large ditch must cross a windbreak, try to make the crossing at an angle to the wind to avoid creating wind tunnels through the planting. The goal is for the trees and shrubs to grow together to form a continuous barrier within 10 years. Although the height of a windbreak determines the extent of the protected area downwind, the length of the windbreak determines the amount of total area receiving protection. For best protection, the uninterrupted length of a windbreak should exceed the height at least 10 to 1. For example, if the height of the windbreak is 30 feet, it needs to be at least 300 feet long to reduce the impact of turbulence around the end of the windbreak.
By understanding and manipulating the 5 windbreak design components, height, density, orientation, continuity, and length, and avoiding poor planting sites, a windbreak design can be developed to meet your objectives. Rich Straight is the USDA Forest Service lead agroforester at the USDA National Agroforestry Center in Lincoln, Nebraska. He has worked with windbreak applications for the past 15 years.
Selection of the windbreak tree and shrub species is determined by the purpose of the windbreak and your objectives. The plants you select will affect the functioning of your windbreak. For example, if your livestock need winter protection from winds, then evergreen species like pine, spruce, or cedar trees should be used. For controlling snow in relatively small areas, such as livestock feeding areas, evergreen species help create a dense windbreak that results in short, deep snowdrifts in the desired location. For summer protection, planting tall trees, either broadleafed or evergreen, will maximize the area of soil and crop protection during the growing season. When spring and fall colors are important, shrubs and small trees can provide colorful flowers, fruits, and branches. Some species even hold on to their fruit into the winter months, providing food for wildlife and an additional splash of color. Always use as many different species as possible to reduce the risk of loss from disease and insects. When determining which tree and shrub species to use, you need to answer the following 3 questions. What are my objectives? Which of the tree and shrub species that meet my design needs are well suited to my climate and soil? And which of the tree and shrub species are available from local nursery sources? Your NRCS conservationist, area forester, or extension specialist can assist you in selecting the tree and shrub species that are well adapted to your location.
And sometimes we like to mix in shrubs for wildlife.
Steve Rasmussen is the district forester for the Nebraska Forest Service in Norfolk, Nebraska. He has been assisting landowners with planting windbreaks for the past 20 years.
Young and newly established windbreaks, such as this one, need extra care and protection from competing weeds. Using conservation mulch fabric, or mowing the weeds, or using cultivation or herbicides are ways to kill the grasses and weeds. Also, excluding livestock from the windbreak is important since livestock can damage young seedlings. Insects and diseases, wildlife, and fire are also damaging agents.
Windbreaks reduce wind speed and create protected areas. With careful planning, windbreaks create desirable microclimates that slow soil erosion, improve crop yields, increase livestock gain in winter, keep snowdrifts out of feedlots, increase calf survival, provide wildlife habitat, and improve working conditions for the farm family. For more information about this agroforestry practice, contact the University of Missouri Center for Agroforestry. Additional information is available from the USDA National Agroforestry Center. In your area, local offices of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, State Forestry, or University Extension may also have information on windbreak practices. This video has been produced and funded by the University of Missouri Center for Agroforestry within the College of Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources.